This is your macroeconomics video for the principle of economics number 4. The fourth principle is that people respond to incentives. So we already know that people who are rational weigh the costs and benefits of decisions when they make them. But people can be suggested to respond in certain ways. And that is what an incentive does. It is just something that induces a person to act in a certain way. A disincentive would be something that bad that would happen to you if you were to make a certain choice. So if you want more people to choose option A, then you can provide an incentive, and that incentive will increase the person's benefits or reduce their costs in comparison, thus encouraging them to make that decision. Now, just because you make an incentive does not mean that everybody will make the choice, but if an incentive exists, then more people will make that choice than the one without the incentive. So rational people respond to incentives because they make decisions by comparing costs and benefits. Here are just some examples. So you have the option to purchase lunch at school or to make your lunch and bring it with you, or I guess you could go without food all day. Now, purchasing lunch at school, you might think is expensive. You have to stand in line. There's limited choices, but some people still do it, right? Why do you do it? Most people do it because they don't want to take the time to make their lunch in the morning. It allows you to sleep in maybe an extra 15 minutes. And for some people, it's very convenient to just buy lunch at school as opposed to carrying around their lunchbox, which they also could leave places. If you've ever been to the Harkins movie theater chain, they also offer loyalty cups in which you can get soda refills at a discount. Why does Harkins give you a discount on soda refills? Because they want to incentivize you to make the choice of going to a movie at their theater as opposed to one of the big theaters like an AMC. This is an example I put together for a discussion we're going to have, and this is about welfare, and I just put an example here. Let's say that the government is trying to solve poverty, and that's what welfare programs do. So let's say that families who are on welfare are given $500 per month for each child that they have. Now, this is not actually how welfare works, and welfare is different from place to place, but this is just an example I put together for our discussion. So what is the incentive here? If families need more than $500 a month in order to pay the bills, then there might be an incentive to have multiple children and thus get more payments. Well, we don't want to encourage people just to have kids for money purposes. So are there other ways we could create a program which still solves poverty, helps families raise their kids in a responsible way, but doesn't encourage them to make bad choices? If you have an idea, I want you to type it into your guided notes. Some things to consider here. You could give families $500 a month for the first child and then a lower amount of money for other children. You could max out at, let's say, $2,000 a month. Do you have to give families only cash payments? No, you could also give them things like food stamps. Or you could give them services as well, job training programs. You could give them free daycare, all sorts of other services that are necessary so that people can work and pay their bills as well. One of the interesting questions in economics is, which child is more expensive, the first child or the second child? The second child is always cheaper than the first child. Because the first child that you have to buy a crib and a car seat, and you have to have a stroller, not to mention clothes and toys and all those things. Well, for the second child, some of those things can be reused. So things like you might not need to buy a second car seat, or you might not need to have a second crib. And so your costs per child will go down over time in some instances. For your next act of learning, we're going to do a math exercise. So here's the scenario. You're going to sell your old car. You've already spent $2,000 on repairs, and you're just about to sell it, and at the last minute, the transmission dies. And now you have to decide to pay either $1,600 or $1,600 to have it repaired, or you can sell the car as is, which means you'd be selling it for a lower price because it has a broken transmission. So in situation A, the Blue Book value is $8,500. So that's what you can sell it for if the transmission works, or $6,700 if it doesn't. In situation B, that Blue Book value changes from $8,000 for a working transmission to $6,500 if it doesn't. I want you on your active learning to write out the math that you use to figure out the answers to A and B, and then also answer the question, should you have the transmission repaired? There's actually multiple ways for you to do the math and get the correct answer here.